I'll be happy to try and answer it.
Stuart, why is it sometimes after class I'm completely speechless?
Look, Jennifer, this is very strong energy. It's energy that gets you focused. It's energy that develops the chakra system. It's energy that requires a kind of silence inside in order to receive, Shakti and energy of a higher nature. Nothing wrong with that kind of silence. It's not a problem. It's, in fact, it allows the energy to go deeper inside you. And if I ask if people have questions, there's two reasons. The first one is the question should come from a place really deep inside that will help whoever asks it to truly go to a new level inside themselves. And secondly, when people ask questions here, it always takes this class to a different level. Things come out of me that sometimes I've never even heard, that really are deep and profound and it's not me, it's really the higher energy that is speaking. But if you feel that kind of deep silence after the class, there's nothing to worry about. It's just fine. It means that you're doing very good, deep inner work, and it's not necessary to force yourself to have a question or force yourself to talking or gossiping or whatever, And sometimes I ask people for questions because it really inspires me to, to transmit Shakti in, through language and through what flows through me. And it almost never enables me to repeat things over and over again. Yeah, I repeat a lot of stuff, but it always touches on things that are new and a little deeper and more profound. Does anyone have a question? Okay, if there are no questions.
Yeah, I'll ask one, Stuart.
Yeah.
Hey, can you talk about moving from living a life in the linear time to living in the timeless state?
Well, yeah. Look, linear time has a place in timeless space. Linear time is karma. It's working out your life on the earth. It's learning how to become more of a human being while you live here. And all of the energy invested in doing that opens you to a timelessness. Because in order to do it, you have to connect with God, or that which is infinite in the universe. So these two things are not separate from each other. They really are essential for anyone to grow, and to develop a spiritual life. Linear time is the time between birth and death. That's the time we're given to develop an inner life that is strong enough to become enlightened. How do we get enlightened? By breaking down all the conditioned, patterns, inner concepts, conceptualism, all that stuff that keeps us from connecting with what is timeless in the universe. So these things are not separate from each other. They're really one and, they're really one and a part of each other. One is essential for the other. Why are we born into linear time? We need to learn to transform it into an energy within ourselves that is connected to what is infinite in the universe. It's probably the single most important thing we have to learn on the earth. and to finally realize that there is no separation between humanity and spiritual energy. The only separation is, what's created in people's heads. That's where there's separation. When the mind gets involved, it creates little boxes, it creates conceptualized existence. That's what it does, So then linear time becomes something separate from timeless time, whatever you want to call it, infinite energy in the universe. But once you open inside and develop an inner life, there is no separation. You realize where you need to have to go in order to become more human.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome, Larry. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
I have a question.
Yes.
It's just about in daily life, say when there's a trigger and someone, whatever, triggers anger.
No, you'll have to repeat this. And also, you should do me a favor, please. In the next class, keep yourself more light. I can barely see you.
Oh, okay.
I see a shadow image of Leisha. No, go ahead, ask the question.
So just in daily life, when we're triggered, say like anger or like a person and you feel anger, I'm just wondering like the process in this practice. I mean, I'm presuming it's to drop the mind into the belly and just surrender to the feeling. Or I wondered if you could talk a little about that.
Yeah, look, anger, unhappiness, insecurity, all of these things are just our limitations. People come into our lives in very various capacities, families, friends, jobs, businesses, and they will endlessly remind us of our limitations. And instead of being angry at them and upset because, they tell us something that we don't really want to hear, we should listen, say, okay, maybe I do have limitations like this, and maybe I can use this experience, as a way of going deeper in myself and growing instead of being angry, which just does nothing but blow your inner life. So it's really a matter of how we see things and how we use things, because there's always going to be somebody that comes along that's going to get us upset, always. None of us are perfect. None of us, God is perfect. The rest of us have to deal with our imperfections. And what we see outside ourselves is always a mirror image of exactly who we are inside ourselves. And people will come along that know how to just jab us in the right place to get us upset. So instead of being upset, say, okay, I'm getting angry here for a reason. I'm getting angry here because something in me is very insecure and something in me has to defend myself and protect myself. And in order to truly defend yourself and protect yourself, let it remind you that you have to grow inside, that you haven't arrived yet. We're all imperfect. We all have work to do on ourselves. And instead of allowing that anger to take over, which will do nothing but drain your entire inner life away, okay. I must look at the person and say, thank you. Thank you. I mean, look, I was once sitting with my teacher, Rudy, and it was extraordinary what he said to me. He said, I couldn't pay a therapist $1,000 an hour to show me the things I need to work on myself, where my mother does it for me for nothing. I mean, it was really an incredible thing he said, and it was true. I mean, no matter how perfect we are, there's always somebody that's going to point out something that's wrong, you know? And instead of being angry at them, okay, I'll save that anger. I'll use it to build a much deeper and stronger inner life. I mean, this would stop a lot of wars, for God's sake. It would stop a lot of stuff that goes on in the world. So don't be upset at these people. Just recognize that they too have their limitations. They too are insecure. They're not perfect. They walk around protecting themselves. They walk around having to know better and having opinions, you know, and, you know, just say, okay, you know, thank you. I have to do work on me. And instead of getting angry, do the work. Take the anger inside, bring it below the navel, let it develop chi. Let it build you instead of draining you of your life by spitting it out on somebody else.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's an incredible way to use everyday life as a way of growing. I mean, I could recount so many experiences I had, you know, before and after, you know, before I learned these things from Rudy and after I began to practice them with people that would bring me all kinds of crap, you know, in my life. Does anyone else have a question? I mean, anger can be a very real tool that can build chi. It's a powerful energy, anger. It's also a tool that can get you killed. Get into some serious argument, fight with somebody else. You use it inside, it could build really powerful chi, balance, foundation inside the human being. And take that from when I was a young man, I was probably the last angry. I mean, I was so angry when I was younger. I didn't even know what I was angry about, but it came out of me left and right until I learned how to do what I'm talking about. And now, if it ever comes, it takes seconds to get rid of, and it instantly goes to the chakra below the navel. And I use it to build chi instead of using it to hurt somebody else. Does anyone else have a question?
As a follow-up from that, sorry, if
All right.
it just brought a question. If someone else throws their anger at you, can you use their anger as your own chi to build your own chi?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you don't really want situations like that, but they do arise, you know, and if somebody, just keep your mouth shut, take it in, you know, and yeah, and you can learn how to, I mean, look, when I do healing work with people, you know, I mean, you work with somebody that has cancer, the negative quantity inside them is so powerful that if you don't learn how, if I didn't learn how to draw it into the chakra below the navel and create chi out of it, it could probably do damage. If I didn't learn how to drop it and let go of it, it could do damage. Well, somebody else's anger is the same thing. And it always has, you know, look, I mean, I don't want to keep telling the story, but maybe I should, you know? Years ago, when I was studying with my teacher, he had purchased a place up in the Catskill Mountains in New York to have an ashram. And I had a very difficult winter. I was running a business. I was going to school. I was teaching, you know, Rudy's meditation when he left town. I was teaching Hatha yoga. I mean, it was like nonstop day. I would get home at night. I didn't even know where I was living in his house. I didn't even know where I was going to sleep, you know? And it was amazing. And finally went up to him and I said, Rudy, I said, think I can go up to Big Indian and spend a couple of days up there and just chill out? He said, that's what it's for, go up there. Now, I know many of you have heard this story before, but put up with me, okay? So I went up to Big Indian and I found a room and I unpacked and I said, well, you can't just lie around and do nothing. Maybe there's something you can do in the ashram that can help out. So I look out the window and there's an entire acre of land, like a whole yard, where the grass was taller than I was. And there was a tractor there with an attachment that you could mow the grass. So I said, wow, there's something I can do, contribute something to this place. So I went downstairs, I got on the tractor, I started mowing the yard and I'm beginning to feel my tension go away and the whole week, And suddenly from the other side of this ashram, I see somebody running, screaming at me, mad as hell and screaming at me. And I did 50 things wrong. I was there 20 minutes. So I stopped the tractor, I got off the tractor and I walked up to him. And this man was a friend of mine, for God's sake. I knew him and his wife and I liked him. But he went on for 15 minutes screaming at me about all the things I had done wrong and and usually we would have started a fist fight. And I said, no, Stuart, keep your mouth shut and just listen to him. He's just upset. And I spent 15 minutes, 10 minutes, felt like forever, listening to him. And when he exhausted all the anger, he looked at me with tears in his eyes and he gave me a big hug and he said, thank you, Stuart. Thank you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for letting me get this pain out of my chest, out of my heart. It was such a teacher for me. It was such an amazing teaching. It was like the Buddha there, in 3-foot-high grass, teaching me about how to keep my mouth shut and how to listen to somebody and have compassion for another human being. And then he looked at me and he started to smile and he said, you want to use the tractor? Go use the tractor. Go ahead. No problem. I mean, he just was all pent up and full of himself and ready to explode and needed somebody to listen to him. And that experience has served me the rest of my life. Because I have people, even today, they come to me with so much stuff that in order to deal with their stuff and not let it, rile me inside, I have to just stay quiet and listen to them. And then maybe help them get over it. And these are common occurrences in the life of anybody,
It's 2 o'clock.
So yes, you could use somebody else's anger. But you also have to have a system inside that's strong enough to do it. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, if there are no more questions, then there will be a meditation on Sunday. God bless you all. Thank you for being here, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend. And as I say every time, and I'll say it again, this class, every class I do is a step closer to my spiritual enlightenment. Every one of you are part of it. And I'm grateful to each and every human being that shows up. And, that presence forces me to work as deeply as I possibly can inside myself to make it something positive for everybody that attends. So bless you and thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Sunday.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Stuart.